that the answer you seek is all around you, but you need to look and ask questions. And they were wowed, but they said, your CV didn't say any of that. So, and then they offered me the role of...
Hi, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lynda, and on this channel I share information about nursing abroad, getting jobs abroad, remote job opportunities worldwide. So if you are seeing my face for the first time, consider subscribing, because I believe it will help you in your UK journey, or if you're planning to move abroad, this channel is for you. So go ahead and subscribe and let's go.
Thank you so much, Lynda, for this opportunity. My name is CHINENYE. I'm a registered nurse trained in Nigeria, and I practice here in the UK. Currently, I work as a lecturer in adult nursing in University, Cambridge. I also write sometimes, and you can find my write-ups on my Facebook page. I go by the name CHINENYE EJIDIKE.
Just go straight to this. Can you just tell us in steps how you managed to move to the UK? What was your previous role in the UK? And how did you manage to switch to a different role? I think within two or 3 years, right? So how did you manage to do that? What was it like? Did you just tell us what it's like?
Oh, well, I don't claim to have a silver bullet for quick promotion. However, I hope that from my experience, you can learn one or two things. And in my opinion, I think it's primarily about keeping your passion alive, staying informed, and gathering relevant experience. I started, when I came over, I started in gastroenterology ward. However, I was teaching previously, and of course, I understand. I understand I need to gather NHS experience to support my previous experience. So yeah, that's what it is. And for me, my turnaround moment came when I attended one of the OSCE forums. You know, when you come in, you do your OSCE, you get trained to undertake your OSCE exam. So the practice development team also offered us some OSCE forums. You know, in the sessions, they choose topics depending on our needs, you know, the questions we've been asking. And I can remember vividly the very first one I attended, their career development was demystified. And at the end of that program, I saw a path before me. And then I could remember going home that day to start a course. It was a very short course, but it was impactful. That was Practice Assessor, Practice Supervisor program offered by University. And interestingly, this course was free. I did this course solely because I wanted to support students on placement. I wanted to mentor them. And you know, you would agree with me that it's slightly different from what we do back home. There are proficiencies, and then I just wanted to understand the system. So I did that, and I let my manager know that I've done that course, and I started getting students officially assigned to me. So I think it's about, you know, it's part of my gathering that experience and the evidence that I need for my vision, for the you know, for my future career, for what I'm looking to, you know, I'm looking at my long-term goal here. And again, I did so many other courses which are also free on Future Learn, and I am doing anything that I think will be relevant to my long-term goal. I did, including academic writing, research methodology, just so many of them, you know, the ones I think I would need. So when the opportunity eventually emerged, I went for it. So for me, it's about, you know, keeping that passion alive, and then seeking for information, and then gathering evidence and having that confidence to move forward when you see the opportunity.
I think one thing I actually picked from this is having that confidence, because sometimes people think that maybe whatever they know, no matter how they have taken courses and all of that, that it is still, they will still not be accepted, especially when they are new here. So I've heard so many people say that, oh, my qualifications at home, they are useless, I'm starting from ground zero and all of that. So even if they are taking courses and all of that, they still lack that confidence to go for some positions. So one thing we are taking from here is that it is possible. So with that being said, can you just tell us how easy it was for you when you were applying? Did they consider you? Did you meet any challenges? Did they in any way say that because you have Nigerian qualification that they are not going to consider you? What was the kind of responses you were getting?
This is an interesting question, to be honest, and I'm happy to talk about my experience on this. My practice development role was on the first senior role I went for. The very first one I attempted was the role of research, clinical research nurse, and I was turned down. But it was a big learning point for me because I am happy I got the feedback I needed and I was offered another role. Can you imagine that? Because from my CV and from what I was saying, they gathered that I have experience in data analysis, and that I haven't even flaunted that. I haven't spoken much about that. And the interviewer later gave me a call and said, from your CV, from what you are saying, we understand that you can do this and do that, but your CV haven't said half of that. And I gave instances of my role in clinical research, and they were wowed, but they said your CV didn't say any of that. So, and then they offered me the role of data management, and but it didn't later work out. You know, it's a long story, but I was offered another role. But my learning, what I went out to, my takeaway from that experience was being able to showcase what you've been doing, being able to evidence what you can do, both in your CV and in your interview questions. And so you need to be able to prepare yourself to be able to convince the panel that you can really do that. I'm not saying you should inflate things. I mean, actually, being able to say or being able to communicate that you can do this and this is what you've been doing because the evidence is already there. So with my practice development nurse, because I already have that experience, it was just once and I got it that same day. They were happy to employ me, and that was a good pedestal for my present job. And then can I add, with my present job, I went and it was also a smooth one, actually. So I haven't got another tender.
Wow, amazing, amazing. I'm really excited that you are able to share your experience today, because this is just an evidence when I tell people to just keep trying. I mean, have confidence that if you have done this thing in the past and you put it in your CV and you actually express that, like tell people that this is what I can do and I believe I can actually contribute in a particular role, then you'll be surprised of what can happen. Sometimes you get turned down, like she said. It's possible you get turned down, but it could open up doors for you. So I understand that when you got your present job, you had to switch your visa. What was the process like? Because if you get a job from Nigeria or from anywhere in Africa, it's usually a 3 years contract. So many people have that notion that you have to stay with that employer for that whole 3 years. But I understand you got this job even before your contract elapsed. So how did you manage to switch from health and care worker visa to maybe another type of visa? Just can you tell us how you did that?
Okay, so this is a good question, actually, because you need to clarify these things before you take up that contract. So I had to let them know that I would need a change of sponsorship if I have to work with them, because actually what I applied for was a part-time, and then they offered me full-time. And I said, okay, and they gave me some time to think about it. And then I thought, what do I need to be full-time? And then I remembered I need to change that sponsorship. And I asked them if they're happy to sponsor me. They also said they would get back to me. And then they said they will. So that was it. So I waited for that change of sponsorship to happen. When I received my letter, I have to reapply to the Home Office. So it's under change of sponsorship. So what you are basically doing is asking for leave to remain. So under that change of sponsorship, there is leave to remain. So I am under, I'm now a skilled worker. I'm no longer on the healthcare worker visa. But it was stated I can still do things that under my qualification, and I can still do jobs aside. It has to be with similar job that I'm doing, like what I am currently doing, but I can also do jobs that are covered under my profession. So I still do my practical when I want to. Does that make sense?
Okay, so from our discussion so far, I noticed that you applied for various roles. You applied for clinical research and then data and all of that. So if you're not working in the UK or or in IT or any other job at all, how do people get other jobs even while they are already with their primary sponsors? What is your advice on that? What will make them to be able to get something that they can be considered in? Like, how can they search for jobs?
Yeah, with the introduction of integrated systems, vision of standards, and of course the ongoing digitalization of the NHS, many roles have emerged for the nurse, both in the community and the acute NHS. So there are just so many of them. Even in the integrated system, people are, I can see many of us moving to the discharge team, integrated discharge team. And some of these new roles, they don't really need you to do an extra degree or maybe a higher degree. Many of them, you just have to go in and shadow and start shadowing shifts to learn, to get some insight into the role, and you can be trained on the job. And some of them you can be sponsored to get extra knowledge, and some of them require simple courses. Like the practice development nurse, I've also observed many of our overseas nurses becoming practice development nurse, becoming clinical tutors, and then education in the education department, doing the role of clinical, what is it called again?
Clinical instructor, maybe.
Clinical instructor, yes. Thank you for that. So yeah, there are, and then I've also observed some people going into ENT. It's interesting, and I discovered that is done. You get trained on the job in hospital, so they haven't had to do any extra degree. You see, I am proud to say that our training in Nigeria is authentic and robust and can fit into any healthcare system. And so what we need to do is just to understand our environment and learn the system we are in, and then think of where we will where we want to move to, and then get some information around that area. Like I mentioned, shadowing shifts. So when you do that kind of thing, you will now know whether you need extra training outside the hospital or not. But unfortunately, some of us, like I have observed, they do courses, they launch into courses and they pay their way through. They pay for these courses and they may not need it in the long run. So you need to make sure that you actually need those courses that you venture into.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And before we go, I would want you to just share with us what are the tips, your best tips and advice for any international nurse or anyone coming as a healthcare assistant to the UK, or anyone coming to take up any job at all under visa sponsorship. What do you think will help them to excel in the UK?
Well, I always say this because there is evidence of people having bad, unpleasant experiences in the NHS, and believe it or not, these things influence us. It does influence our biases, our stereotypes, So my advice for everyone is embrace your journey. Don't personalize the experience of others. Some people may have unpleasant experiences, I agree, but if you haven't experienced it, don't claim it to be your experience. So because it is quite distracting when you make other people's experience yours. I could remember some people telling me, forget about promotion, just focus on doing banks and get money. That may be their story, but it's not my story. So I need to allow myself to create my own story. I need to build my own experience. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I have observed a culture among us, people doing degrees that they don't need. It's okay, it's beautiful to pursue knowledge, to know and to learn, but you need to make sure it's contributing to your long-term goal. It could be a short course and it will be so impactful, and it will take you to the next level in your profession. And again, we need to, I used to say it, but it sounds abstract sometimes when you don't practice it. I'm talking about reflection. We have to reflect and learn from our experience. So if you had a good experience or a bad experience, you can always learn from that. And finally, I just want to say that the answer you seek is all around you, but you need to look and ask questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really, really grateful that you were able to make out this time to join us today. And I hope you've learned one or two things, everyone. If you have questions for her, leave it in the comment section. And if you also have specifically questions in your journey in the UK, she's on Facebook as CHINENYE EJIDIKE UBAH. I'll leave the link to her page in the description below. You can ask her questions and you give her time to respond as well. So thank you everyone for joining us, and let me know what you think about this video and what you want to discover in the UK. And I'll keep that in mind as I do my research and also invite people to talk on this channel. Okay, so thank you everyone and do have a good day. Bye.